Chapter 1. Control your reactions or lose your power, the invisible lead. Imagine you are a puppet. Every time someone says something that makes you angry, they pull a string. Every time a setback at work causes you to panic, the situation pulls another string. When someone cuts you off in traffic or disrespects you in a meeting and you instantly fire back with a snide comment, you are dancing. You are not the master of your movements. You are a reactive machine, responding to the whims of the world around you. Mental strength begins with the realization that your reaction is the only thing you truly own. If you cannot control that, you own nothing. Most people live their entire lives in a state of constant reaction. They are like dry leaves in the wind, blown left by a compliment, blown right by an insult. But the mentally strong are like the mountain. The wind blows, the rain falls, and the mountain remains. Strong minds pause. Weak minds explode. The anatomy of the reaction. Why do we react? Biologically, we are wired for survival. When you feel disrespected or threatened, your amygdala, the ancient, emotional part of your brain, triggers a fight or flight response. Your heart rate increases. Your vision narrows. Your tongue prepares to lash out. In the wild, this saved our ancestors from predators. In the modern world, it destroys our careers, our relationships, and our authority. When you react instantly, you are operating on animal instinct. You are bypassing the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, strategy, and long-term thinking. This is why people say things in anger that they regret 5 minutes later. They weren't thinking, they were reacting. Every time you give in to that impulse, you train your brain to be fragile. You tell your subconscious, I am not in control. My environment is in control. You are teaching yourself that you cannot handle pressure. Control is strength. Calm is power. The silence of the elite. Look at the highest performers in the world. Think of a neurosurgeon in the middle of a complication. If the patient starts bleeding out, does the surgeon scream? Does he throw his tools and curse the situation? No. He becomes more still. His voice drops an octave. He slows down his movements. He knows that a reaction is a waste of energy. He needs every ounce of his mental capacity to solve the problem. Think of an elite special forces operator in a firefight. Chaos is erupting. Bullets are flying. But the operator's heart rate remains steady. He has trained himself to observe the chaos without becoming part of it. He understands that the person who panics first loses first. These people are not unfeeling. They feel the fear. They feel the anger. But they have built a wall between the feeling and the action. They have mastered the silent pause. Strong minds pause. Weak minds explode. The power of the pause. The difference between a victim and a master is the space between the stimulus and the response. In that space lies your power. When someone disrespects you, your instinct is to fire back. If you do, you have lowered yourself to their level. You have validated their attempt to rattle you. But if you pause, if you wait just 3 seconds, the dynamic shifts. By not reacting, you create a vacuum. The other person begins to wonder why you aren't angry. They begin to feel the weight of their own disrespect. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their own immaturity back at them. In an argument, the person who speaks less usually has more power. Silence is a demonstration of dominance. It shows that you are so secure in your own reality that their words cannot penetrate it. Control is strength. Calm is power. The habit of observation. To master your reactions, you must move from being a participant in your emotions to being an observer of them. Imagine you are standing on a bridge, looking down at a fast-moving river. The river is your emotions. You can see the logs, anger, the debris, fear, and the swirling water, stress, passing underneath. But you are on the bridge. You are not in the water. You are watching the emotion, but you are not being carried away by it. When a setback happens, when you lose money, when a project fails, when someone breaks your heart, say to yourself, I am feeling a sensation of frustration. Don't say, I am frustrated. Labeling it as a sensation creates distance. It reminds you that the feeling is temporary, but your character is permanent. You win when you don't react. Practicing the silence. How do you build this? You don't wait for a crisis to practice mental strength. You practice it in the small things. When your phone notifies you of a message that might be stressful, don't check it immediately. Wait 10 minutes. Control the impulse to see it. When you are hungry and have to wait in a long line, observe the irritation rising in your chest. Don't huff or puff. Don't check your watch. Just stand there and be still. When someone says something stupid in a meeting, count to 5 before you respond. Each time you do this, you are lifting weights for your mind. You are thickening the neural pathways of self-control. You are becoming a person who cannot be easily manipulated. Strong minds pause. Weak minds explode. Long-term success and emotional discipline. Emotional discipline is the ultimate competitive advantage. In business, the person who can stay calm during a negotiation always gets the better deal. In sports, the athlete who doesn't let a bad call ruin their game always performs better in the fourth quarter. In life, the person who doesn't let the small things break them is the person everyone turns to when the big things go wrong. People will try to provoke you. Life will try to break you. The world will try to pull your strings. Your job is to cut the strings. When you refuse to react, you keep your power. You stay in the driver's seat of your life. You become an unbreakable force because you have mastered the hardest thing of all, yourself. Control is strength. Calm is power. Strong minds pause. Weak minds explode. You win when you don't react. Chapter 2. Do the hard things daily without announcing it. The first battle is the quietest. The sun has not yet risen. The world is draped in a heavy, cold silence. Inside your home, the air is warm, and your bed is the most comfortable place on earth. Then, the alarm sounds. This is the moment where the average person begins their day with a defeat. They hit the snooze button. They negotiate with their comfort. They choose the path of least resistance. But the mentally strong understand a fundamental truth. Your character is forged in the moments when no one is watching and when you have every excuse to quit. Mental strength is not a gift you are born with. It is a callus you build by rubbing your soul against the grain of discomfort. Comfort weakens. Discomfort builds. Every time you choose the hard path, the cold shower, the early run, the extra hour of focused study, you are performing a silent surgery on your own brain. You are cutting away the parts of yourself that are soft, lazy, and impulsive. You are installing a new operating system that prioritizes long-term growth over short-term pleasure. The biological trap of comfort. We live in an age designed to make us weak. Everything is available at the touch of a button. Food is delivered to our doors. Entertainment is infinite and effortless. Our ancestors had to endure physical hardship just to survive, which naturally built their resilience. Today, we have to seek out hardship on purpose. If you don't intentionally build discomfort into your day, your mind will atrophy. It will become like a muscle that is never used, thin, brittle, and incapable of lifting the weight of a real crisis. Think of the gym. Why do we go? To tear the muscle. We go to put ourselves under a bar that wants to crush us. We struggle, we sweat, and we feel the burn. We do it because we know that the body only adapts when it is under stress. Your mind is no different. If you want a mind that can handle the pressure of leadership, the pain of loss, or the grind of success, you must put it under voluntary stress every single day. Comfort weakens. Discomfort builds. The vampire of validation. There is a modern trend that is the enemy of true strength, the announcement. People go to the gym and immediately post a photo of it. They start a new business and change their social media bio before they've made their first dollar. They tell everyone their big plans for the year. This feels good in the moment. It gives you a rush of dopamine. When people like your post or tell you good job, your brain receives a reward. But here is the danger. Your brain cannot distinguish between the social reward of talking about a goal and the actual reward of achieving it. By announcing your intentions, you satisfy the hunger for progress without doing any of the work. You kill your momentum before the race has even begun. Silent progress is the only progress that lasts. When you do the hard things without telling anyone, the energy that would have been spent talking is instead redirected into the work. There is a deep, quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are becoming a powerhouse in the dark. Move in silence. Let results speak. The power of the secret grind. When you move in silence, you build a secret version of yourself. While the rest of the world is busy performing for an audience, you are in the lab. You are building a body, a business, or a mindset that is real, not just a projection. There is a psychological weight to results that are unannounced. Imagine showing up to a meeting 6 months from now, having lost 30 pounds, mastered a new skill, or doubled your productivity, and no one saw it coming. The shock of your results is 1,000 times more powerful than the noise of your intentions. Silence is the ultimate flex. It tells the world that you don't need their likes to stay motivated. You have an internal fire that doesn't need external oxygen. Move in silence. Let results speak. The fallacy of motivation. Most people wait for a spark. They wait for the right song to play, the right motivational video, or a burst of New Year's energy to get things done. This is why they remain average. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are as fickle as the weather. If you only work when you are motivated, you will be inconsistent, and inconsistency is the hallmark of a weak mind. Mental strength is the ability to do what needs to be done when you feel like doing it the least. It is the habit of showing up regardless of your mood. When the alarm goes off and your mind says just 5 more minutes, and you get up anyway, that is a victory. When you are tired and frustrated but you finish the task anyway, that is a victory. Strong minds don't wait to feel ready. Consistency is the ultimate separator. Anyone can be a hero for a day. Anyone can work hard for a week. But to show up every day, for years, without fanfare and without needing a pat on the back, that is where the elite are made. Consistency beats motivation every single time. The identity of the finisher. You are what you do repeatedly. If you repeatedly choose comfort, you are a comfortable person. If you repeatedly do hard things, you are a strong person. You don't need to wait until you are ready to start being strong. You become strong by doing the things a strong person does. Build a routine of non-negotiables. These are the hard things that you do every day, no matter what. It might be waking up at 5 a.m. It might be reading 20 pages of a difficult book. It might be a grueling workout. Whatever they are, do them in secret. Do them for yourself. Every time you complete a difficult task without seeking a reward, you are telling your subconscious, I am the type of person who does the work. That self-belief is worth more than all the applause in the world. Comfort weakens. Discomfort builds. Move in silence. Let results speak. Strong minds don't wait to feel ready. Chapter 3. Stop seeking validation, the invisible lease. Imagine you own a beautiful home, but you have given the keys to every stranger who walks past your front door. You have given them the right to walk in, move the furniture, change the colors on the walls, and decide whether the house is clean enough for their liking. You would never do this with your physical home. Yet, this is exactly what you do with your mind when you live for validation. When you seek approval, you are handing over the keys to your internal world. You are allowing the opinions, the moods, and the judgments of others to dictate how you feel about yourself. You are living on a lease, and your landlord is the crowd. If they clap, you feel tall. If they whisper, you feel small. If they ignore you, you feel invisible. This is the definition of mental fragility. Needing approval is weakness. The mentally strong understand that public opinion is a weather vane. It shifts with the slightest breeze. To build a life on the foundation of what they think is to build a castle on shifting sand. If you need their yes to move forward, they own your forward motion. If you need their good job to feel worthy, they own your worth. The drug of the digital age. We live in an era where validation has been digitized. We have turned human connection into a currency of likes, views, and comments. This is a drug. Every notification is a tiny hit of dopamine that tells your brain, you are seen, you are liked, you are safe. But drugs create dependency. When the likes don't come, the withdrawal begins. You start to wonder what is wrong with you. You start to edit your personality, your photos, and your very thoughts to fit the algorithm of what people want to see. You stop being a person and start becoming a brand designed for consumption. Strong people do not play this game. They realize that social media is a hall of mirrors. Nothing in it is real. If you are addicted to the praise of people who don't even know your middle name, You are starving for a meal that has no nutrients. You are filling your stomach with the air of empty compliments. You don't need applause to grow. The internal scoreboard. There are two ways to live: by an external scoreboard or an internal one. The average person looks at the external scoreboard. They ask, what does my boss think? What does my neighbor think? What do the people on the internet think? Because they are constantly looking outward, they never develop an internal compass. The elite look at the internal scoreboard. They have a set of standards that they have written for themselves. They know if they worked hard today. They know if they were honest. They know if they gave their best effort. If their internal scoreboard says they won, it doesn't matter if the world thinks they lost. And if their internal scoreboard says they failed, no amount of public praise can make them feel successful. This is the secret to unbreakable confidence. When you stop seeking validation, you become immune to criticism. If a stranger tells you that you are a failure, but you know you have put in the work, their words have no power. They are just vibrations in the air. You don't get angry. You get curious about why they are so misinformed. You stay calm because you are the only one with the right to judge your progress. Strong minds answer to themselves. The trap of the good boy or good girl. Many of us were raised to be good. We were rewarded for following the rules, for making our parents proud, and for fitting in. We learned that love and safety come from being what others want us to be. As adults, this manifests as people-pleasing. People-pleasing is not a virtue. It is a form of manipulation. You are being nice not because you are kind, but because you are afraid of conflict. You are saying yes when you want to say no because you are terrified of losing someone's approval. This creates a deep, silent resentment that rots your mental strength from the inside out. Mental strength requires the courage to be disliked. It requires the ability to stand in your truth, even if you are standing alone. When you stop trying to please everyone, you realize something incredible. The people who truly matter will respect you more for your boundaries, and the people who don't matter will simply fall away. Both results are a win. Needing approval is weakness. Self-respect over external praise. Self-respect is earned in the dark. It is built through the silent habits we have already discussed, controlling your reactions and doing the hard things. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, you build a reservoir of self-respect that is so deep, no one can drain it. Think of a massive oak tree. Its roots go deep into the earth. When a storm comes, the leaves may shake and the branches may sway, but the tree does not move. Why? Because its strength is not in its leaves, the part everyone sees. Its strength is in its roots, the part no one sees. Validation is like the leaves. It's nice to have when the sun is shining, but it can't hold you up in a storm. Self-respect is the roots. You must spend more time growing your roots than polishing your leaves. You don't need applause to grow. The freedom of independence. When you finally break the habit of seeking validation, a strange thing happens. You become free. You can take risks because you aren't afraid of looking stupid. You can speak your mind because you aren't afraid of being judged. You can pursue the life you actually want, rather than the life society expects you to have. Independence of thought is the ultimate luxury. It is the ability to look at a situation and decide for yourself what is right, regardless of the consensus. This is how leaders are made. This is how innovators change the world. They aren't asking for permission to be great. They are too busy being great. Build the habit of answering to yourself. Every night, ask yourself, did I live up to my standards today? Not your mother's standards. Not your followers' standards. Yours. If the answer is yes, sleep in peace. The world's opinion is none of your business. Strong minds answer to themselves. Needing approval is weakness. You don't need applause to grow. Chapter 4. Master your daily routine. The architect versus the wanderer. Most people wake up as wanderers. They open their eyes and immediately let the world decide what their day will look like. They check their emails, and now their boss owns their morning. They check the news, and now the world's tragedies own their mood. They check social media, and now the lives of others own their focus. They spend their entire day reacting to external forces, wondering why they feel exhausted, anxious, and stuck. The mentally strong are not wanderers. They are architects. They understand that a life is not built in a day, but a day is a microcosm of a life. If you cannot master your morning, you cannot master your afternoon. If you cannot master your afternoon, you cannot master your year. Your routine is the invisible framework that holds up the house of your ambitions. Without it, you are just a pile of bricks lying in the mud. Your routine builds your reality. Success is not a grand, singular event. It is not a lightning bolt that strikes the lucky. Success is the aggregate of boring, repetitive, and disciplined actions performed with relentless consistency. When you see a champion, you are seeing the result of a routine that was mastered years ago. You are seeing the reality that was built in the silence of their daily habits. The military mind, removing the self. Think of the military. Why is the routine so rigid? Why do they insist on making the bed with perfect corners, polishing boots until they shine, and waking up at the exact same minute every day? It isn't just about cleanliness or punctuality. It is about the removal of the negotiating self. When a soldier is in the heat of battle, they cannot afford to decide if they feel like following an order. They cannot negotiate with their fear. The routine has automated their excellence. By controlling the small, mundane details of their life, they have trained their minds to be disciplined in the face of chaos. Most people fail because they are constantly negotiating with themselves. They wake up and ask, "Do I feel like working out today?" The moment you ask that question, you have already lost. You have given your feelings a vote, and feelings are notoriously lazy. A routine takes the vote away from your feelings. It moves the action from the emotional brain to the automatic brain. Discipline creates freedom. Death by 1,000 decisions. There is a psychological phenomenon known as decision fatigue. Every choice you make, what to wear, what to eat, which task to do first, drains a small amount of your mental energy. By the time the average person reaches 2 p.m., their willpower tank is empty. This is why you find yourself scrolling on your phone or eating junk food in the evening. You simply don't have the mental strength left to make a good choice. The mentally strong protect their energy by automating their lives. They wear a uniform. They eat the same high-performance meals. They follow the same morning ritual. By removing the need to make small decisions, they save their cognitive power for the big ones. They use structure as a shield against the chaos of the world. If your day is a mess of maybe and later, your mind will be a mess of stress and anxiety. But when you have a structure, you have a sanctuary. You know exactly what is expected of you. This clarity creates a sense of calm and control that noise can never touch. Your routine builds your reality. The sanctity of the morning. The first 60 minutes of your day are the rudder of your ship. If you start your day with distraction, your ship will drift aimlessly. If you start your day with discipline, your ship will cut through the waves with purpose. A master's routine often starts with silence. No phones, no screens, no input from the outside world. This is the time to program your own mind before the world tries to program it for you. Whether it is meditation, journaling, exercise, or deep work, the morning is where you claim your territory. When you complete your morning routine, you enter the world with a win already under your belt. You are not trying to be productive. You are productive. You are not trying to be strong. You have already demonstrated strength by choosing the hard path while the rest of the world was still hitting the snooze button. Discipline creates freedom. The non-negotiable standard. The secret to an unbreakable routine is the non-negotiable. These are the habits that happen regardless of the circumstances. If you are traveling, you do them. If it's your birthday, you do them. If you are tired, you do them. Most people have conditional habits. They work out if they have time. They meditate if they feel stressed. Conditional habits create a conditional life. But non-negotiable habits create an unbreakable identity. When you do something every day without fail, it stops being something you do and starts being who you are. You don't need 100 habits. You need 3 or 4 keystone habits that anchor your day. Maybe it's a 30-minute walk, 15 minutes of reading, and finishing your hardest task before noon. The simplicity is where the power lies. The more complex the routine, the easier it is to break. Keep it simple, keep it ruthless, and keep it daily. Do it every day. Repetition is the mother of power. We are often told that variety is the spice of life. In terms of mental strength, variety is often a distraction. Mastery requires the courage to be bored. It requires the willingness to do the same boring high-payoff activities over and over again until they become second nature. The amateur is always looking for a new hack, a new app, or a new strategy. The master is busy doing the basics for the 10,000th time. Repetition is how you burn a habit into your nervous system. It is how you become unbreakable. When a crisis hits, you don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training. If your training, your daily routine, is weak, you will crumble. If it is strong, you will endure. Your routine builds your reality. Designing your fortress. Take a look at your current daily schedule. Is it a fortress that protects your goals, or is it a sieve that lets your potential leak out? Every hour of your day should have a purpose. Even rest should be a disciplined, scheduled activity, not a mindless collapse into distraction. Build your routine around your biology. Do your hardest work when your brain is sharpest. Do your chores when your energy dips. Wind down with intention so you can sleep with peace. You are the architect. Stop complaining about your life and start looking at your blueprints. If you don't like the reality you are living in, change the routine that is building it. Discipline creates freedom. Do it every day. Your routine builds your reality. Chapter 5. Learn to be alone without feeling empty. The terror of the mirror. Imagine a room with no windows, no television, no computer, and no smartphone. There is a chair in the middle of the room. Your only task is to sit in that chair for 30 minutes. No music. No books. Just you and your thoughts. For most people in the modern world, this is a form of torture. Within minutes, the average person begins to feel an itch. They feel a rising tide of anxiety. They feel a desperate urge to check a notification, to hear a human voice, or to distract themselves with a screen. Why? Because when you are alone with your thoughts, you are forced to look into a mirror that has no filters. You are forced to confront your regrets, your fears, and the reality of who you actually are when the audience is gone. Dependency on others for entertainment or validation is a profound mental weakness. If you cannot be alone without feeling empty, it means you are an empty vessel that can only be filled by external noise. The mentally strong do not run from themselves. They have built an internal world that is so rich and so stable that they do not need the world to constantly feed them. Strong minds don't fear silence. Loneliness versus solitude. There is a massive difference between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is a state of lack. It is a feeling of isolation and a craving for connection that isn't being met. Solitude, however, is a state of abundance. It is the choice to step away from the noise to find clarity, strength, and self-mastery. Think of the world's most successful thinkers, leaders, and creators. They all shared a common habit: the retreat. Bill Gates takes Think weeks where he disappears into a cabin with nothing but books and a notepad. Great philosophers like Marcus Aurelius wrote their most profound works while in the isolation of military camps. Monks spend years in silence to reach enlightenment. They did not do this because they were antisocial. They did it because they understood that the crowd is a place of consensus, but solitude is a place of innovation. When you are with others, you are constantly adjusting your frequency to match theirs. You are speaking their language, thinking their thoughts, and following their pace. It is only in solitude that you can hear your own frequency. It is only in silence that you can hear the truth. Silence builds strength. The vulnerability of the dependent mind. If you need a partner to feel whole, a crowd to feel important, or a phone to feel occupied, you are vulnerable. You have outsourced your emotional stability to things you cannot control. If the person leaves, or the crowd turns on you, or the battery dies, you collapse. This dependence creates a fragile mind. It makes you a beggar for attention. You begin to make poor decisions, staying in toxic relationships, following stupid trends, or compromising your values, just to avoid the vacuum of being alone. Mental strength is the ability to be your own anchor. It is the realization that you are the captain of your ship, and while passengers are welcome, they are not required to keep the ship afloat. When you learn to be alone without feeling empty, you become dangerous to those who would try to control you. You no longer fear being cut off or left out because you know that your internal world is a fortress that cannot be breached. Strong minds don't fear silence. The alchemy of reflection. Most people live life at 100 miles per hour, bouncing from one task to the next, one distraction to the next. They never stop to ask why they are doing what they are doing. They are like a person trying to navigate a forest while looking only at their feet. They are moving, but they are lost. Solitude is the map-making process. It is the habit of reflection. When you sit in silence, you allow the silt of your daily life to settle at the bottom of the lake. The water becomes clear. You start to see the patterns in your behavior. You realize where you have been weak. You recognize where you have been lying to yourself. This process is not always comfortable. It often involves a dialogue with your conscience that is quite painful. But that pain is the burning off of your delusions. By facing yourself in the silence, you master yourself. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. If you can sit with your own shadows and not blink, you have achieved a level of power that most people will never know. Silence builds strength. Thinking deeply without distraction. We are currently in a crisis of attention. Our minds have been trained to process information in 10-second clips and 280 character bytes. We have lost the ability to chew on a difficult problem for hours or days. We have butterfly minds, flitting from one flower to the next, never digging deep. Solitude is the only cure for this. Deep work and deep thinking require a mind that is comfortable in the quiet. When you remove the notifications and the chatter, your brain begins to rewire itself. It moves from shallow processing to deep processing. This is where the world-class ideas live. This is where the strategic breakthroughs happen. If you want to be a leader, you must be a thinker. And to be a thinker, you must be comfortable being alone. You must learn to trust your own logic more than the trending opinion. You must build the habit of sitting with a problem until it yields its secrets to you. Strong minds don't fear silence. The habit of internal stability. How do you build this? You start small. You don't need to move to a cave. You start by reclaiming small islands of silence in your day. Leave your phone at home when you go for a 20-minute walk. Sit in your car for 5 minutes after you arrive home before you go inside. Eat one meal a day without a screen, a book, or a companion. Just eat and observe the flavor of the food and the rhythm of your own breath. At first, your mind will scream. It will tell you that you are bored, that you are missing out, or that you are wasting time. Do not listen. That boredom is just the withdrawal symptom of a mind addicted to noise. Stay in the silence. Push through the emptiness until you reach the fullness. Eventually, you will find that the silence is not empty at all. It is full of peace, full of clarity, and full of strength. You are enough. Your internal sanctuary. Ultimately, mental strength is the ability to be at home in your own skin. It is the knowledge that even if the world falls apart, even if you lose your job, your status, or your friends, you still have you. You are your own best friend, your own most trusted advisor, and your own greatest supporter. When you realize this, the fear of being alone vanishes. You stop seeking people to fill the gap and start seeking people to share the abundance. You move from a position of need to a position of power. You no longer fear the quiet of the night or the silence of a room. You embrace it. Because you know that in that silence, you are building an unbreakable version of yourself. You are not a fragment of a whole. You are the whole. You are the source. You are the mountain. Strong minds don't fear silence. Silence builds strength. You are enough. Chapter 6. Train your mind to finish what you start. The graveyard of half-finished dreams. Walk through the landscape of your own life. Look closely at the corners and the shadows. What do you see? You see a book on the nightstand with a bookmark stuck at page 50. You see a gym membership card gathering dust in a drawer. You see a half-written business plan in a digital folder. You see a language app that hasn't been opened in 3 months. Most people have a graveyard of half-finished dreams. They are starters. They love the rush of the beginning. They love the dopamine hit of a new idea, the excitement of the first day, and the potential of a project. But the moment the newness wears off, the moment the work becomes a grind, they look for the exit. They tell themselves they lost interest, or they don't have time, or they found a better idea. These are lies. The truth is that they lack the mental strength to finish. And every time you leave something unfinished, you are performing a slow, silent act of self-destruction. Finish everything. The silent cost of quitting. Every time you start something and don't finish it, you are training your brain to fail. You think you are just giving up on a hobby, but you are actually teaching your subconscious mind that you are not a person of your word. You are creating a neural pathway for quitting. Imagine your mind is a computer. Every unfinished task is an open window running in the background. It drains your processing power. It creates a subtle, persistent sense of anxiety and guilt. You might not be thinking about that half-finished project every second, but your subconscious is. It feels the weight of the loop that hasn't been closed. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, the psychological phenomenon where our brains remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. When your life is full of open loops, your confidence leaks out of the holes. You cannot trust yourself because you have a track record of abandonment. You begin to feel like a fraud. You tell people you're working on things, but deep down, you know you're just a starter who never crosses the finish line. This mental damage erodes your foundation until you are too fragile to handle any real challenge. Finish everything. The valley of despair. Every project, every habit, and every goal has a life cycle. It starts with informed optimism. You're excited and you think it's going to be great. Then comes informed pessimism. You realize it's harder than you thought. And then you hit the valley of despair. The valley of despair is the middle. It's the point where the initial excitement is dead, the results haven't shown up yet, and the work is boring, repetitive, and painful. This is the filter of life. This is where 99% of people quit. They think the lack of passion is a sign that they should stop. But the mentally strong know that the valley of despair is where the transformation happens. Strength is not built at the starting line. It is not built at the finish line. It is built in the grueling middle where you have every reason to stop, but you keep walking anyway. Finishing is not about talent, it is about the refusal to let your feelings dictate your actions. Strong minds finish. Completion builds belief. Confidence is not a vibe. It is not something you get from looking in the mirror and saying affirmations. Confidence is a reputation you have with yourself. It is the result of a stack of undeniable proof that you do what you say you are going to do. When you finish a task, whether it is washing the dishes, finishing a 30-day workout challenge, or completing a massive work project, your brain receives a different kind of dopamine. It's not the cheap, starter dopamine. It's the winner's dopamine. It creates a sense of completion belief. Every time you cross a finish line, you add a brick to the wall of your self-trust. You begin to look at yourself differently. You start to think, if I finish that, I can finish this. You become a closer. And in this world, closers get paid, closers get respected, and closers get the life they want. Small wins stack into massive strength. It starts with the small things. If you say you're going to clean the garage today, do not go to bed until the garage is clean. Period. Completion builds belief. The habit of follow-through. How do you train your mind to finish? You treat it like a muscle. You start with micro-finishes. If you start a book, finish the chapter before you put it down. If you start a workout, finish the last set even if you have to lower the weight. If you start a conversation, finish it properly. Never leave a loop open. The habit of follow-through requires you to be ruthless with your yes. Most people fail to finish because they start too many things. They say yes to every shiny object. Mental strength is the ability to say no to the 99 things that don't matter so you can say yes to the one thing that does, and then see it through to the end. A strong mind doesn't need to be the fastest or the most brilliant. A strong mind just needs to be the one that is still there when everyone else has gone home. Reliability is a superpower. When you become known as someone who always finishes, you become a person of immense authority. Strong minds finish. Closing the loops. Take an inventory of your life right now. What are the open loops? What are the things you've started but abandoned? You have two choices: finish them or officially kill them. If that half-finished project is no longer worth your time, don't just let it sit there. Decide to drop it. Close the loop. Admit it wasn't for you and clear the mental space. But if it is worth it, you must commit to a finishing date. Stop moving on to the next new thing. The new thing is just another distraction from the hard work of finishing the old thing. There is no glory in 1,000 starts. There is only glory in the finish. Completion builds belief. The identity of a closer. From this moment forward, you are a finisher. You are the person who stays when it gets boring. You are the person who works when the passion is gone. You are the person who crosses the line while others are still looking for a shortcut. When you feel the urge to quit, when that familiar voice says this is enough for today, that is the moment you must do one more rep, write one more page, or spend 5 more minutes. That is where you win. That is where you separate yourself from the herd. You are building a mind that is unbreakable. You are building a reputation with yourself that is ironclad. You are a finisher. And finishers win. Finish everything. Completion builds belief. Strong minds finish. Chapter 7. Embrace pain as your teacher, the signal of growth. In our modern world, we are taught from birth that pain is an error. If your head aches, you take a pill. If your heart breaks, you find a distraction. If your work gets difficult, you look for a shortcut. We have been conditioned to believe that a good life is a life free of friction. We view pain as a red light, a signal to stop, to turn back, and to find the nearest exit. But the mentally strong know a secret that the rest of the world has forgotten. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the master architect of the soul. It is the only force in the universe capable of stripping away your delusions and forcing you to grow. If you are not experiencing some form of resistance, you are not moving forward. You are merely existing in a state of decay. Think of the athlete. When their muscles scream in the final mile of a marathon, or when their lungs burn during a heavy lift, they do not panic. They do not think something is wrong. They understand that the burn is the sound of weakness leaving the body. They know that without that specific, localized agony, there is no improvement. Pain is progress. The safety trap. The greatest threat to your potential is not failure. It is comfort. We live in the safest, most padded era in human history. We have climate control, instant gratification, and a society designed to eliminate every minor inconvenience. But this comfort comes at a terrible price. It makes us mentally soft. It creates a version of the human being that crumbles at the first sign of real adversity. When you spend your life avoiding discomfort, you are essentially living in a bubble. You feel safe, but you are fragile. The moment the bubble pops, and life will pop it, you have no tools to cope. You have no calluses on your mind. You are like a hothouse flower that has never felt the wind. The first storm will snap you in half. Mental strength is the decision to step out of the bubble. It is the habit of seeking out the controlled burns of life. It is the realization that the hard path is the only one that leads to the top of the mountain. If you want to be unbreakable, you must stop asking for an easy life and start asking for the strength to endure a difficult one. Pressure builds power. The alchemy of adversity. Think of the most respected people in history. None of them had an easy journey. Nelson Mandela was forged in a prison cell. Abraham Lincoln was shaped by a lifetime of depression and political defeat. Viktor Frankl found the meaning of life in the middle of a concentration camp. These individuals did not become great despite their suffering. They became great because of it. Pain is an alchemist. It takes the lead of your character and, through the heat of trial, turns it into gold. It forces you to find resources within yourself that you never knew you had. You don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. When life knocks you down, don't ask why me. Ask, what is this teaching me? When you lose everything, you gain the opportunity to see what is truly indestructible about yourself. When you fail publicly, you gain the freedom of having nothing left to lose. Every scar is a lesson. Every tear is a cleansing of the vision. Hard makes you stronger. Resilience through the storm. Resilience is not the ability to bounce back. It is the ability to integrate the blow and keep moving forward. It is the silent endurance. Most people scream when they are in pain. They complain to their friends, they post about their struggles on social media, and they look for someone to blame. They leak their power through their noise. The mentally strong handle their pain in silence. They don't need a witness to their suffering. They understand that their struggle is a private conversation between them and their destiny. They take the hit, they feel the sting, and they use that energy to fuel their next move. Pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. Without the weight of the earth pressing down, without the heat and the darkness, the diamond would remain a common piece of black rock. You are currently under pressure. You are currently in the dark. Instead of fighting the pressure, embrace it. Let it compress you. Let it refine you. Let it turn you into something that can cut through glass. Pressure builds power. The habit of leaning in. How do you train for this? You build the habit of leaning in. Most people have a lean-back reflex. When a task gets hard, they lean back. When a conversation gets uncomfortable, they lean back. When a workout gets painful, they lean back. You must train your brain to have a lean-in reflex. When you feel the urge to quit, that is exactly when you must do one more minute. When you are terrified of a difficult conversation, that is exactly when you must speak. When you feel the weight of failure, that is exactly when you must start the next project. By leaning into the pain, you take away its power. Pain thrives on your fear of it. The moment you turn toward it and say, "Is that all you've got?" the pain transforms. It stops being a threat and starts being a fuel. You realize that you are the master of the sensation, not its slave. Pain is progress. The wisdom of suffering. There are things you can only learn through suffering. You can read 1,000 books on courage, but you will never know what it is until you have to face a fear that makes your knees shake. You can listen to 1,000 podcasts on discipline, but you will never possess it until you have to work through a day of soul-crushing exhaustion. Suffering strips away the ego. It removes the pretenses and the masks we wear. In the middle of pain, you are your most honest self. This honesty is the foundation of real strength. When you have been through the fire and come out the other side, you possess a quiet authority that no one can take from you. You have a knowing in your eyes. You have a weight in your presence. You are no longer afraid of the dark because you have become your own light. Hard makes you stronger. The unbreakable spirit. Your mind is like iron. To be shaped into a sword, it must be placed in the furnace. It must be heated until it glows red, and then it must be struck repeatedly by the hammer. The furnace is your hardship. The hammer is your discipline. The anvil is your life. Do not resent the hammer. Do not fear the furnace. Every strike is making you sharper. Every degree of heat is making you more flexible. The goal is not to avoid the fire, but to become the fire. When you embrace pain as your teacher, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a master of your soul. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. Pain is progress. Pressure builds power. Hard makes you stronger. Chapter 8. Remove distractions without mercy. The silent heist. There is a theft occurring right now. It is happening in your pocket, on your desk, and in your living room. It is a silent heist, and the prize being stolen is far more valuable than your money or your car. It is your attention. In the modern world, your attention is the ultimate currency. Companies spend billions of dollars on algorithms designed specifically to break your will. They hire neuroscientists to figure out exactly which color, which sound, and which notification will trigger a dopamine hit in your brain. They want you distracted. They want you reactive. They want you scrolling, clicking, and consuming because a distracted mind is a profitable mind. But a distracted mind is also a weak mind. If you cannot control where your eyes go, you cannot control where your life goes. If you are constantly pulled away by the ping of a notification or the lure of a headline, you are not a leader, you are a consumer. You are a passenger in your own head. Mental strength is the ability to choose your focus and hold it, regardless of the noise. Distraction destroys discipline. The myth of multitasking. We have been lied to. We have been told that multitasking is a skill, that we can do it all at once. We check emails while we're in meetings. We listen to podcasts while we work. We text while we eat. We think we are being efficient, but the reality is that multitasking is just task switching, and every switch comes with a heavy cognitive tax. Every time you look away from a deep task to check your phone, it takes your brain an average of 23 minutes to return to the same level of focus you had before. You aren't doing two things at once, you are fragmenting your mind. You are creating a state of continuous partial attention. This shallowness prevents you from ever reaching the flow state, that high-performance zone where time disappears and your greatest work is done. A strong mind is a singular mind. It is a laser, not a light bulb. A light bulb scatters light in every direction, illuminating the room but creating no heat. A laser takes that same energy and focuses it into a single, tiny point, and that point can cut through steel. If you want to cut through the challenges of your life, you must stop scattering your light. Focus is a weapon. The parasites of potential. Distraction is not just about technology. It is about anything that leaks your energy. It is the gossip in the office. It is the friend who only calls you when they have a crisis. It is the constant entertainment we use to numb our boredom. It is the procrastination that whispers you can do it tomorrow. These are parasites. They sit on the back of your potential and suck the life out of your goals. Most people think they are too busy to achieve their dreams. They are not busy, they are distracted. They spend 4 hours a day on their phones and then wonder why they don't have time to build a business, write a book, or master a skill. You must conduct an audit of your attention. Look at where your minutes are going. If a habit, a person, or an app does not align with the person you are trying to become, it has no business being in your life. You do not need to be nice to distractions. You must remove them without mercy. Cut what weakens you. Protecting the sanctuary of the mind. Your mind is a sanctuary. It is the place where your ideas are born and your character is built. Most people leave the door to their sanctuary wide open, letting every stray thought and every digital notification walk right in and sit on the furniture. You must build a wall. You must create deep work zones in your day where you are completely unreachable. Turn off the notifications. Put the phone in another room. Close the extra tabs on your browser. This is not just a productivity hack. It is a spiritual practice. It is the act of reclaiming your sovereignty. When you protect your focus, you are telling yourself that your work and your goals are worth more than the world's noise. You are validating your own importance. There is a deep, quiet power in being unavailable. Let them wait. Let the messages sit. Your primary responsibility is to the mission, not the inbox. Focus is a weapon. The habit of eliminating noise. Mental strength is as much about what you don't do as what you do. It is the habit of elimination. The more you remove, the more power you have for what remains. Think of a sculptor. A sculptor doesn't build a statue. They remove the stone that isn't the statue. They take a block of marble and they chip away everything that is unnecessary until the masterpiece is revealed. Your life is the block of marble. Your distractions are the excess stone. If you want to see the masterpiece of your character, you have to start chipping. This means saying no to things that are good so you can say yes to things that are great. It means being comfortable with missing out. The modern FOMO, fear of missing out, is a trap for the weak. The strong have JOMO, the joy of missing out. They find joy in missing out on the gossip, missing out on the trends, and missing out on the noise because they are busy building something that matters. Distraction destroys discipline. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Chaos in your environment creates chaos in your mind. If your desk is a mess, if your digital desktop is a mess, and if your schedule is a mess, your focus will be a mess. Simplicity creates clarity. Strip your life down to the essentials. Clear the clutter. A minimalist environment allows the mind to settle. When there are fewer things to look at, there are fewer things to think about. This creates the silent focus required for elite performance. Train yourself to finish one thing before starting another. Do not leave a trail of half-done tasks behind you. Closing the loops, as we discussed in Chapter 6, is part of removing distraction. An unfinished task is a ghost that haunts your focus. Exorcise the ghosts by finishing the work. Cut what weakens you. The weaponization of focus. When you master your focus, you become an anomaly in the modern world. You become capable of things that seem impossible to others. While everyone else is struggling to read a single page without checking their phone, you will be producing at a level they cannot comprehend. Focus is the force multiplier of your talent. If you have a little talent but a lot of focus, you will outperform the genius who has no discipline. In the long run, the world belongs to the focused. It belongs to those who can block out the sirens of distraction and stay the course. Be ruthless. Protect your time. Protect your attention. Your life is the sum of what you focused on. If you focus on the trivial, your life will be trivial. If you focus on the great, your life will be great. Distraction destroys discipline. Focus is a weapon. Cut what weakens you. Chapter 9. Keep your promises to yourself the most important conversation. You are in a constant, never-ending conversation. It started the moment you gained consciousness and it will continue until your final breath. This conversation isn't with your spouse, your boss, or your friends. It is the conversation you have with yourself. And in this conversation, there is one thing that determines the quality of your entire life. Trust. Most people are worried about whether other people trust them. They want to be seen as reliable in the eyes of the world. But the mentally strong know that external trust is secondary. The foundation of all power is self-trust. If you cannot look in the mirror and know, with 100% certainty, that you will do what you said you would do, you are living on a foundation of sand. You are a house divided against itself, and a house divided cannot stand the storms of life. Your word matters. Every time you make a promise to yourself and break it, you are performing a silent act of self-sabotage. You think it's small. You think it doesn't matter that you hit the snooze button when you promised you'd get up. You think it doesn't matter that you ate the junk food when you promised to eat clean. But your subconscious is watching. It is recording every betrayal. It is building a reputation of you as a person who cannot be counted on. The internal reputation. Imagine you have a friend who constantly makes plans with you and never shows up. They promise to help you move, then they turn off their phone. They promise to pay you back, then they disappear. How much respect do you have for that person? How much weight do their words carry in your mind? 0. You stop listening to them. You stop believing in them. Now, realize that for many of you, you are that friend to yourself. When you tell yourself, tomorrow, I'm going to start that project, your subconscious mind laughs. It says, no, you won't. You didn't do it last time, and you won't do it this time. This is why you feel a lack of confidence. This is why you feel imposter syndrome. It's not because you aren't talented. It's because you have no internal reputation. You are a stranger to your own word. Mental strength is the process of rebuilding that reputation. It is the habit of treating every promise you make to yourself as if it were a legal contract signed in blood. When you reach the point where your word is law in your own mind, you become unshakable. You no longer need motivation because you have integrity. Do what you say. The poison of the snooze button. Let's talk about the first promise of the day. The night before, when you are feeling motivated and idealistic, you set your alarm for 6 a.m. You are making a promise to your future self, I will wake up and attack the day. But then, 6 a.m. arrives. You are tired. The room is cold. The bed is warm. Your feeling mind takes over and you hit the snooze button. In that single, 3-second movement, you have already lost. You have started your day with a lie. You have told your brain that your feelings are more important than your word. This sets the tone for everything else. If you can't even keep a promise to wake up, why should your brain believe you when you say you'll work hard, or stay calm, or lead others? The snooze button is a training tool for mediocrity. The mentally strong treat the alarm like a command from a superior officer. There is no negotiation. There is no 5 more minutes. The feet hit the floor because you said they would. Your word matters. Discipline grows in the small things. Most people wait for a big moment to prove their character. They think they will be strong when the crisis hits, even though they are weak in their daily lives. This is a delusion. Character is not built in the crisis. It is only revealed in the crisis. Character is built in the mundane, boring, and small promises you keep when no one is watching. Did you promise yourself you'd drink more water today? Drink it. Did you promise you'd write 1 page? Write it. Did you promise you'd keep your desk clean? Clean it. These small wins are the bricks of your mental fortress. Each one adds a layer of self-trust. When you stack 1,000 small promises kept, you develop a sense of automated confidence. You don't have to try to be confident. You just are, because you have the data to prove you are a person of action. You become dependable. And a person who can depend on themselves can handle anything the world throws at them. Do what you say. The integrity of the silent achiever. We live in a world of loud promises. People post their resolutions on social media, telling everyone what they plan to do. This is a trap. When you tell the world your plans, you get the social credit for the work before you've done it. This actually makes you less likely to finish, because your brain already got the reward. The mentally strong keep their promises in silence. They don't need an audience to witness their integrity. They keep their word because they have to live with themselves. They understand that true integrity is what you do when there is zero chance of being caught or praised. If you promise yourself you'll do 20 push-ups before bed, and it's 2 a.m. and you're exhausted and no one would ever know if you skipped it, do the push-ups. Do them specifically because no one is watching. That is how you prove to your subconscious that you are a person of power. That is how you build a word that carries weight. Strong minds are dependable. The reliability filter. When you become dependable to yourself, a strange thing happens. You become a magnet for opportunity. The world is full of people who are flaky, inconsistent, and unreliable. When you are the person who always delivers, when your yes means yes and your no means no, people notice. But more importantly, you notice. You begin to walk differently. You speak with a different tone. There is no shaky quality to your voice because you aren't hiding a dozen broken promises in your pocket. You have nothing to prove and nothing to hide. You are aligned. Integrity is the alignment of your thoughts, your words, and your actions. When these three things are in one line, you are a force of nature. When they are scattered, you are a mess. Stop scattering your power. Stop leaking your energy through small lies. Be the person who can be trusted by the most important person in the world. You. Your word matters. The vow of the unbreakable. From this moment on, look at every I will that leaves your lips as a sacred vow. Do not speak it lightly. If you aren't sure you can do it, don't say it. It is better to promise nothing and deliver something than to promise everything and deliver nothing. Practice the habit of under-promising and over-delivering to yourself. If you think you can work for an hour, promise yourself 30 minutes, then do 90. This creates a surplus of self-trust. It builds a reserve of mental power that you can draw upon when life gets truly hard. You are the only person who can build your confidence, and you are the only person who can destroy it. Every day is a series of tests. Every choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. Vote for the person who is reliable. Vote for the person who is dependable. Vote for the person who keeps their word. Your word matters. Do what you say. Strong minds are dependable. Chapter 10. Build quiet confidence. The lion and the hyena. In the animal kingdom, there is a distinct difference between the sounds of the hunter and the sounds of the scavenger. The hyena is loud. It cackles, it yips, and it makes constant noise to signal its presence, to ward off others, and to hide its own nervousness. The lion, however, moves in near total silence. It does not need to roar to prove it is a lion. Its power is evident in its posture, its gaze, and the way it occupies space. It only roars when it chooses to, and when it does, the entire world stops to listen. Human beings are no different. We live in a world of loud people. People who are constantly talking about their achievements, their wealth, their plans, and their opinions. They dominate conversations because they are terrified of silence. They brag because they are desperate for you to believe they are important. But this loudness is not confidence. It is a mask for deep-seated insecurity. Real confidence is quiet. It is the steady, unshakable belief in your own ability to handle whatever comes your way. It doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need to be spoken at all. Confidence is built, not spoken. The substance of competence. Confidence is not a hack. It is not something you can fake by standing in a power pose or reciting affirmations in the mirror. You cannot trick your subconscious into believing you are a winner if you haven't done the work of a winner. Fake confidence is like a thin coat of paint on a rotting fence. It might look good from a distance, but the moment the wind blows, the truth is revealed. True confidence is the byproduct of competence. It is the result of thousands of hours of silent habits. It is the result of Chapter 2, doing the hard things. It is the result of Chapter 6, finishing what you start. It is the result of Chapter 9, keeping your promises. When you have spent years mastering your routine, controlling your reactions, and leaning into pain, you don't have to try to be confident. You simply are. You know what you are capable of because you have tested yourself in the fire. You have the data. You have the scars. You have the proof. You don't need to tell people you are strong. You know it, and that is enough. Confidence is built, not spoken. The insecurity of the bragger. Why do people feel the need to brag? It is a search for validation. When someone tells you how much money they make or how important their job is, they are really saying, "Please tell me I'm successful because I don't believe it myself." They are looking for your reaction to fill a hole in their own self-esteem. Bragging is a leak of power. When you talk about your plans or your wins, you are trying to buy respect with words. But respect cannot be bought. It can only be earned through action. Every time you brag, you are admitting that you care what others think. You are showing the world that you are still a slave to their approval. The mentally strong have nothing to prove. They are comfortable being the most underestimated person in the room. In fact, they prefer it. There is a massive advantage in being underestimated. It allows you to move freely, to observe others, and to strike with precision while they are busy trying to impress you. Power stays where it is quiet. Strong minds don't need to prove. The power of humility. Humility is often misunderstood as weakness or low self-esteem. In reality, humility is the ultimate form of confidence. It is the ability to be silent when you have the answer. It is the ability to listen when you could be talking. It is the ability to let others take the credit because you don't need the applause to feel worthy. Think of the silent achievers, the people who build empires, save lives, and change the world without ever seeking a headline. They are driven by an internal mission, not an external reward. They possess a quiet authority. When they speak with the weight of truth and experience. They don't use 10 words when 2 will do. When you are truly confident, you don't need to dominate the conversation. You don't need to be the alpha who shouts the loudest. You can be the calmest person in the room because you know that your value is not determined by the volume of your voice, but by the quality of your character. Strong minds don't need to prove. The habit of steady self-belief. Steady self-belief is not an emotion. It is a habit of the mind. It is the decision to trust yourself even when things are going wrong. Most people's confidence is brittle. It breaks the moment they fail or get criticized. But unbreakable mental strength is different. It is a confidence that has been forged in failure. Because you have embraced pain, Chapter 7, and mastered your reactions, Chapter 1, you know that a setback is just information. It isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a test of your resolve. You believe in yourself not because you think you'll always win, but because you know you'll never quit. This internal strength creates an aura that people can feel. It is a heavy presence. When you walk into a room with quiet confidence, people naturally move out of your way. They listen when you speak. They trust your leadership. Not because you demanded it, but because your actions have earned it. Let your actions speak. The integration of the 10 habits. As we reach the end of this journey, let us look at the fortress we have built. You started by controlling your reactions, taking back the power from the world. You learned to do the hard things in silence, building a secret reservoir of strength. You stopped seeking validation, freeing yourself from the opinions of others. You mastered your routine, automating your excellence. You learned to be alone, finding peace in your own company. You trained yourself to finish, building a track record of victory. You embraced pain, turning suffering into a teacher. You removed distractions, weaponizing your focus. You kept your promises to yourself, creating a foundation of self-trust. And finally, you have built quiet confidence. You have realized that the loudest voice in the room is usually the weakest, and the quietest soul is often the strongest. You no longer need to scream to be heard. You no longer need to perform to be seen. You are a mountain. The clouds of the world may swirl around you, the storms may bash against your sides, but you remain. Let your actions speak. The final charge. The world does not need more talkers. It does not need more influencers, more posers, or more people shouting for attention. The world needs finishers. It needs leaders. It needs people of substance who move in silence and deliver results. From this moment on, commit to the silent habits. When you win, don't brag. When you lose, don't complain. When you work, don't announce it. When you are challenged, don't react. Let your life be a masterpiece of silent discipline. Let the world wonder how you stay so calm. Let them wonder how you stay so consistent. Let them wonder how you became so unbreakable. You don't owe them an explanation. You only owe yourself the truth. Go back to your routine. Go back to the silence. Go back to the work. Your strength is not in your words. Your strength is in your habits. Confidence is built, not spoken. Strong minds don't need to prove. Let your actions speak.